Good evening นะครับ everyone. I hope that you are still okay นะครับ Okay, I know that you are tired for the whole day นะครับ same as me but so I'll just like try to finish as soon as I can so that you can just like have time for taking a rest นะครับ for this evening นะครับ Okay, right. Okay, so let's continue นะครับ talking about the file that we had this morning นะครับ Assume that we are running the supermarket, the department store นะครับ just what belong. Okay. Assume that we are running the supermarket, the department store, and we have the list นะครับ of the transactions that happen in our department store like this นะครับ This file we downloaded from our e-learning in our e-learning นะครับ in our e-learning in this one you can see that whenever we have like this list of files นะครับ in order to just have a look of the data easily apart from sorting the data we may just like use the way that we filter the data in order to filter the data the things that we have to do is that we have to we have to highlight นะครับ the column that we would like to have the data filtering นะครับ for example if you would like to filter the data from column buyer to payment method นะครับ you highlight all of them after that you go to data tab นะครับ and then you just click filter then it will appear นะครับ the symbol that is the a small square นะครับ with the down arrow นะครับ in here it is the filter once you apply the filter นะครับ to that column from the down arrow will be changed to be the shape of the funnel shape instead this one it means that you are filtering on that column you can see that in this example นะครับ right now because I just like apply I just enable the filter so I haven't filtered any column yet นะครับ so that's why in this one you can see that all of the symbols are just like triangle it means that we haven't started any filtering yet but if we say that I want to filter by the payment that is credit card in here you can see that the credit card the symbol in here will be changed from square with a triangle to be the square with the funnel shape and it has a small symbol of the triangle นะครับ on the left hand side of the funnel shape like this นะครับ in here right so this one means that we are applying the filter นะครับ to our data here when you just like have this information already นะครับ whenever we would like to see the quick data นะครับ for example if you want to know that how much do we get for the credit card นะครับ so if you know that we have to see in the amount paid column you highlight it and then you see in the bottom right corner นะครับ you can see the sum in here it is showing that okay this is the $6,651 dollars for the highlighted sales like this also it helps counting the number for you as well นะครับ this is what we had on this morning นะครับ to just like use the filter and when you use the filter นะครับ it doesn't affect นะครับ or impact the structure of the data so that means if you just like don't want it you just clear นะครับ this filter นะครับ column so in order to clear the filter you click on the funnel shape in here and then choose clear filter from payment method now it's clearing out นะครับ or if you just like have many columns นะครับ that you just set up the filtering นะครับ for example นะครับ you just like have 3 columns 2-3 columns like this and you say that you don't want these 2 columns anymore นะครับ there are 2 different ways in order to cancel this filtering first one you just click นะครับ on each column and choose clear filter, or you can see that if you go to data tab นะครับ you see clear button in here. It clears the filter that you are using นะครับ in here, but it's still showing all of the filter columns that you prepared นะครับ but if you say that no, I don't want to have the filter anymore นะครับ what should I do in here? If you want to stop using the filter นะครับ you can just like choose this one ครับ you can see that right now it is showing that it is filter นะครับ it's activate นะครับ the filtering is active. If you want to cancel all the filter นะครับ in here you click filter once again นะครับ everything is gone นะครับ and the data comes back to its original state as if you've never do anything with the filtering of the data before. When we have this already นะครับ okay, let me just like leave the filter on like this. Maybe we want to use it later. Okay. This morning we talk about the sum if s นะครับ functions. These two functions are the functions that we use in order to find the sum of the values นะครับ according to the conditions that you have got. For example นะครับ you can see that originally if we just like if we just sort the data, we just like destroy the structure of the original data already นะครับ and then we just find the sum according to the cells that you would like to do นะครับ or somebody said that we learned for the filtering already. If I want to find the sales by credit card นะครับ you just like find equal to sum here นะครับ and then you just like sum one row at a time that you just like see it in here นะครับ okay, but you can see that it wastes a lot of time in order to just like click and choose like this นะครับ to get 6,651. Is it better if we have a function that can help us in order to find out the amount according to the condition that we have? In this one, we want to use a condition that our payment method is credit card, then just sum the amount paid for us. So in order to do that นะครับ we learn the function that is called as sum if and sum if s. Sum if is a function that is used when you have one condition นะครับ that you are like considering. For example, in this example, this morning we said that okay, I want you to find the quantity of this product sold in the company, and then we have like name of the product. So that means in this one, if you want to do, we have to just like filter by the product. That is in this one is book. Let's say we start with book first. So just one column to filter only นะครับ that means that we have one condition only ครับ in this one it means that we want to find a quantity that is 2 plus 5 that is 7 ครับ. in here what should we do ครับ if we use the sum if and we know that okay we have just one condition นะครับ sum if works. Sum if in order to use the sum if function นะครับ sum if function, let me just like use the standard sum if first. For the sum if is a function that adds a cell specified by given condition or criteria. We need to have three arguments altogether. The first one is range นะครับ range means the column นะครับ or rows that store นะครับ the values that we are going to compare. For example, in here we want to compare or we want to find the quantity of the product นะครับ so that means you have to specify the range that is the product in here นะครับ for example in here the product is stored in column E, then you have to just like specify E2 to E26 นะครับ for the range. Criteria means that what value that you want to get. So the product that is book นะครับ then you just specify the criteria that is book. In this example I use a reference นะครับ to cell C37 นะครับ and on the last argument is sum range. For sum range, it is the value that you want to sum. That is number of items นะครับ or quantity in here. It's in G2 to G26. So when we have this already, you can see that we just like specify these criteria, and then it comes up with 7 books that we sold นะครับ in here. So in this one, I lock the cell because I want to just like copy this formula to other products as well. If I don't lock นะครับ these kind of just like the reference นะครับ will be moved down as well. That's why I have to lock it by applying dollar sign นะครับ for both column and rows. After that นะครับ we did นะครับ this example, how much did Susan sell นะครับ and then this one, the thing that you do is that you have to specify that Susan is our seller นะครับ so the range of sellers is in column D, then you specify D2 to D26 นะครับ criteria is Susan นะครับ we store Susan in D43 in here นะครับ and then sum range, in this one we want to find how much that she sell is in the amount paid นะครับ is in column H2 to H26 นะครับ, and after that then you get the answer that is 1,698 นะครับ. After that we learn that when we have more than one condition นะครับ to check นะครับ for making a sum in this function นะครับ. For example, in here นะครับ in this one, we want to find the total amount of food sold by Andrew. We know that, okay, we have 2 conditions นะครับ food, that is the goods, our goods, while Andrew นะครับ Andrew is our seller. Then these are 2 conditions. Goods must be food and seller must be Andrew. Then นะครับ we have to use sum if s instead of sum if นะครับ The way in order to use sum if s, let's see the standard syntax of sum if s first. Sum if s นะครับ you have to specify some range first, means that the column that you want to add นะครับ that you really want to add, this one is amount paid นะครับ it's in the column H. While the criteria นะครับ while the criteria range นะครับ means that where is the criteria kept นะครับ the criteria that you can find the goods is in column E นะครับ then you just specify E2 to E26 นะครับ and the criteria that you have to specify is food นะครับ that is food นะครับ because it's a criteria. After that นะครับ dot means that if you have more than one criteria, your sum if s will show the next sum criteria, it will show the criteria range and criteria number 2 for you นะครับ in this one นะครับ if we have a look, you can see that it shows criteria range 2, criteria 2, and also you can have criteria range 3, criteria 3 if you have นะครับ for criteria range 2 นะครับ, it is the location where we store like the possible seller name. It's in column D นะครับ we use D2 to D26, and criteria 2 นะครับ we want to just like check for the value นะครับ or the record that this product is sold by Andrew, then just type Andrew in. Then in this one it shows $1,080 นะครับ. If we just like use the the filter to help นะครับ you can just like check the answer easily. For example, in here you want to check for the product that is food นะครับ that Andrew sold นะครับ then you choose Andrew, who is a seller, and then you just have the amount paid in here. You can see that it said, okay, the amount paid is $1,080 นะครับ. This one is the old one, $1,080. So in this one นะครับ okay, you can see that, okay, the answer is 1,080 นะครับ 1,080 this is the food that is sold by Andrew นะครับ that we want to have and so the next example that I asked you to do I accidentally deleted okay I asked you to find total amount that Mr. Smith bought toys and paid by credit cards นะครับ we do similar way นะครับ we just specify that okay we want to find the total amount right so it is in amount paid column นะครับ it's in H2 to H26 the criteria you specify here we say that Mr. Smith นะครับ that is our buyer นะครับ bought toys that is our goods นะครับ that is by credit card นะครับ that is the payment type so there are 3 criteria that you did in this one นะครับ for criteria range 1 buyer is located in column C นะครับ we specify C2 to C26 and then we just like enter Mr. Smith นะครับ as a criteria 1 for criteria 2 you specify นะครับ the goods is in column E you specify E2 to E26 นะครับ then you just enter toys in here and lastly นะครับ we just said that okay we have the third criteria that is payment type นะครับ payment type is located in column I นะครับ in here so criteria range 3 you enter I2 to I26 and criteria 3 is credit card นะครับ when you enter this information already นะครับ sum if s will calculate 500 for us นะครับ this is the way that we do okay so after we did this one already นะครับ what else that we have to know about นะครับ the next function that we have to know about นะครับ is a function that we call as นะครับ count if and count if s they work similar to the sum if and sum if s but count if and count if s are the functions that we use in order to count the number of records instead of just like summing the numbers นะครับ okay so let me just like talk about the count นะครับ the basic count first okay in this one นะครับ if I begin with the basic count first นะครับ okay firstly นะครับ suppose we say that we want to count number of records that we sold the product นะครับ so what does it mean in here นะครับ in here if we want to count นะครับ the function count work like this ครับ function count okay I go to the function นะครับ count will count the number of cells in the range that contain numbers นะครับ in here so if you want to know that how many records that we sell I may use one of these 3 columns นะครับ which has the numbers in there one out of this นะครับ so in this one assume that I want to count number of record we sold the product I may use quantity column นะครับ column G so the way that I do นะครับ for count function count is easy there's just one argument only นะครับ I just use with the count function นะครับ in here I specify the range ครับ I specify the range of the quantity in here นะครับ from C2 to C26 นะครับ G2 to G26 you can see that it shows 25 here means number of cells that contains นะครับ the number inside in here you can see that every cell contain the numbers that's why it shows 25 for us นะครับ this is the count function this is the basic count but for the basic count sometimes นะครับ it's not enough because if we would like to have the count นะครับ according to the condition that we have นะครับ we have to use the function นะครับ that is different นะครับ so I start with the count if function นะครับ count if function is a function that is used to count number of records นะครับ that contain the numbers นะครับ when you have the condition นะครับ so I just like type count if นะครับ and see the argument in the count if for the count if นะครับ we have range and criteria this count if นะครับ will count the numbers of cells within the range that you specify นะครับ that meets the given condition นะครับ in here then the range you just specify what range you want to count นะครับ and criteria what value that you want to just like check as count and count if นะครับ are the function that we use to count the number นะครับ to consider on the numbers นะครับ so that means for the count if นะครับ in terms of criteria you can specify the relational numbers as well for example if you say that you want to just like check or if you want to count the numbers นะครับ the product that the price per unit is equals to 400 you can just like specify the criteria 400 but if you say that you want to know the product that price is more than or equals to 400 you can specify the operators greater than or equals to as well นะครับ I'll show you in example next on for the count if นะครับ if we say that we want to find นะครับ how many sales transaction นะครับ that Cindy sold นะครับ that Cindy sold ครับ okay so just have a look นะครับ for the from the data first in here นะครับ if you have a look you can see that okay for Cindy is a seller right okay in this one suppose I just choose Cindy you can see that there are นะครับ there are altogether 9 records นะครับ that Cindy sold right so this is like when we use the filtering to help นะครับ now in terms of function how can you use a function to help นะครับ how can you use a function to help the way that we do นะครับ is that in here we will just like start our count if function like this นะครับ we just go to count if ครับ so in order to count for Cindy is located in column D นะครับ the things that we do is that we just specify the range in this one it's D2 colon D26 นะครับ this is the place where Cindy may be located the criteria here นะครับ you just specify Cindy นะครับ you just specify Cindy okay let me just like do it again นะครับ okay so let me just like unfilter this thing first okay so that I can choose from the list in this one นะครับ I go to count if นะครับ the range in here we know that Cindy may be located in column D then you choose D2 to D26 นะครับ in here and criteria นะครับ you want to find Cindy ครับ you just like put Cindy in the double quote because column D contains all the text นะครับ in here it shows 9 นะครับ 9 so it's the same as what we use the filter to help นะครับ if we just like list out ครับ and filter just for what we found Cindy in here you can see that there are altogether 9 records นะครับ for the quick data in here all right so นะครับ this is the example where we use the count if in order to count number of cells นะครับ that consist นะครับ or that contain the specific value นะครับ this is count if okay any question for this example ครับ anyone okay so if you don't have any question นะครับ another example please do it by yourself ครับ I want to know how many records that Paula นะครับ Miss Paula purchased from our store so if please do it now นะครับ I give you 2 minutes when you get the answer already please type นะครับ the formula together with the result for me นะครับ how many records นะครับ that Miss Paula purchased from our store type in both formula and the answer นะครับ let's see นะครับ what do we have to do in this one okay let me just like test first we say that we want to know how many records that Miss Paula purchased right okay we just go to buyer and then just choose Miss Paula only and count her records we have 5 records นะครับ in here in this one all right okay now let's see we use a formula to help นะครับ in this one we go to count if and then for the range we choose buyer นะครับ it's from C2 to C25 C26 sorry and the criteria is Miss Paula นะครับ Miss Paula and then you click OK then you can see that we get 5 records okay that's good นะครับnow let's move on นะครับ before we move on to the next function do you have any question for count if ครับ everyone if you don't have any question for this one นะครับ let me move on to the function the next function that is hang on that is the count if s นะครับ this is for what we found on Paula นะครับ okay the next one นะครับ is count if s is a function that help us in order to calculate in to count number of records นะครับ when we have more than one condition นะครับ when we have more than one condition นะครับ for example นะครับ in here if we say that okay we would like to find out นะครับ to count number of transaction นะครับ number of transaction where Miss Cat purchased book from our store นะครับ now let's try first let's check first with the filtering Cat purchase book นะครับ okay Miss Cat purchase books in this one you should get just one record นะครับ or one transaction only now let's see นะครับ we'll use a formula นะครับ some if sorry count if s how do we gonna use it นะครับ so I just go to explain for the count if s a bit นะครับ before we start doing it นะครับ okay for the count if s we have criteria range comma criteria comma dot 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 means that if you have second or third criteria you have criteria range 2 criteria 2 criteria range 3 and criteria 3 นะครับ and so on this one you count the numbers นะครับ of records of sales according to the conditions that we have got นะครับ in this one okay Miss Cat นะครับ is our first criteria range Miss Cat is located นะครับ can be located in the buyer column it's can be in C2 to C26 นะครับ the name นะครับ is the criteria is Miss Cat okay Miss Cat after that range 2 นะครับ range number 2 is purchase book is our product or goods is in column E นะครับ okay I highlight I drag from E2 to E26 and we say that okay she bought book นะครับ she bought book then you just enter book in the criteria 2 in the double quote นะครับ and the intermediate result is showing as 1 นะครับ same as what we tested before นะครับ she purchased book one time only นะครับ from our department store นะครับ this is the count if s that I use to find นะครับ or the number of records or sales นะครับ that you choose in the range ครับ okay so for count if s in this first example do you have any questions if you don't have any question นะครับ do it by yourself นะครับ I want you to find out นะครับ number of records where Andrew sold food with the amount over 200 ครับ how many transactions where Andrew sold food with the amount over 200 I give you 2 minutes นะครับ everyone please start doing it if you have the answer already นะครับ please type your formula in the chat box นะครับ along with the result as well the trick for this example is here นะครับ how do you gonna interpret this one amount นะครับ over 200 what is amount over 200 so right now you have 3 criteria first one นะครับ is the seller right second one is goods the third one นะครับ the third one amount in here must be amount paid นะครับ so that means we have 3 criteria นะครับ altogether นะครับ we have 3 criteria altogether so in this one นะครับ let's just like enter the formula firstly นะครับ I choose count if s first นะครับ range criteria range 1 is the seller name นะครับ and the first criteria is sorry the first criteria is Andrew นะครับ is Andrew okay next criteria range 2 is goods it's column sorry it's E2 to E26 sorry E2 to E26 and after that นะครับ criteria 2 is food double quote food lastly นะครับ the last criteria is amount paid amount paid is in column H นะครับ it's H2 to H26 in here now the things that make this one นะครับ to be correct is that if you have a look in the problem นะครับ it said that okay it wants to have the amount over 200 the way in order to specify over 200 is you write over 200 like this ครับ you specify over 200 like this นะครับ in our นะครับ in our criteria 3 but you have to use double quote 2 over 200 here นะครับ it shows 2 นะครับ it shows 2 as the answer นะครับ so let's see นะครับ whether it's correct or not okay in this one นะครับ let me just like use a filter to help first นะครับ Andrew food and amount is greater than 200 right okay I filter seller hang on that is Andrew ISO food you can see that okay in here there are 4 transactions but the transaction นะครับ that is over 200 นะครับ there are this one 360 นะครับ these 2 records นะครับ worth over $200 the third one นะครับ in this one 200 is not greater than 200 that's why we don't count it นะครับ for 160 is less than 200 we don't count so in this one we have just we have just like 2 records left only นะครับ that's why it show as 200 sorry it show as 2 if you would like to use a filter to help instead of considering manually like this you can just like click on the click on the filter นะครับ of this amount นะครับ and you can see that in here นะครับ you can see that this one okay let me just check you just choose number filter นะครับ you see that number filter in the number filter you see greater than right you choose greater than and then you specify 200 นะครับ this is what we call advanced filtering you can see that in this one it shows just 2 records only now let me do again นะครับ in this one when you just like want to filter it out นะครับ for the amount over 200 the way that we have to do is that we go to filter นะครับ for that column and as it is number นะครับ you just choose number filters and you just specify what value you would like to check นะครับ or filter out in the circle red circle I said that it must be over 200 right so over is greater than then just choose greater than and then it's greater than 200 you just enter greater than 200 and then click OK so it will show the amount paid that is greater than 200 for us นะครับ so that is 2 records that match with this one นะครับ okay right any questions about this all right if you don't have any questions นะครับ okay I'll talk about another easy function นะครับ that you have to know apart from some if else count is if else the next function that you have to know is the function called sum product นะครับ is the function called sum product let me just like copy this example for you first okay these are like the table นะครับ of the product I'm sorry okay so you just copy like this only นะครับ the other one we will calculate by ourselves okay so this product นะครับ is let's say suppose we say that we are what to say the farmer's shop นะครับ we sell the fruit นะครับ we sell the fruit so we said that okay for our products we have oranges we have bananas and grape นะครับ in our shop นะครับ each product has its price per unit and quantity นะครับ as I show in here now if you would like to find stock value นะครับ is if you want to know the total stock how much นะครับ do we own these products นะครับ we multiply price per unit with the quantity I'm sorry we multiply price per unit with the quantity นะครับ for oranges we have $6 for the stock value นะครับ bananas 4 times 5 is 20 and grape is 12 times 8 equals to 896 นะครับ these are like the stock value of each fruit that we have got okay so what about total stock you may sum all of these stock value นะครับ totally you have 122 right okay for the stock value here this is the way that we just like do it manually if you want to do it นะครับ so you can see that okay I am highlighting yellow cell in here the total stock price นะครับ in here in order to find total stock price if you don't know anything about the function sum product the things that you have to do is that you have to find the stock value of each product and then add them together นะครับ okay now we are going to study about the sum product function sum product is the function that work into different it is like the function that add the capability of 2 functions together one is the sum the other is the product so what does it mean by sum product product here is multiplication นะครับ sum product is the function that add the multiplication result นะครับ of the numbers together นะครับ multiplication in this one what does it mean it means that if you have the table like this นะครับ in here if you have the table like this sum product will multiply a by x plus b times y plus c times z นะครับ so this one is the result from sum product ครับ it multiply the value in the corresponding row นะครับ and then sum them up that's why we call it as sum product นะครับ in here so for the multiplication value นะครับ for example in here A, B, C might be somewhere นะครับ while X, Y, and Z can be stored in another location separately like this. They can still use the sum product. The first element in the first table will be multiplied by the first element in the second table plus second element of the first table times second element of the second table. Something like this until you get the last one นะครับ in this one let me just like show you first how do we gonna use the sum product function in order to find this yellow cell นะครับ in this example so in this one นะครับ I will use the total stock value by using sum product นะครับ in here let's see I'll show you the function sum product first for the function sum product นะครับ we just type sum product in here and see sum product consists of array 1 array 2 array 3 it means that okay if you say that you want to have multiplication result of price price per unit over quantity นะครับ price per unit is your array 1 quantity is array 2 the thing that you have to do is that you specify the range of the array for it for example array 1 in my example is D73 colon D75 while array 2 is E73 colon E75 then it will multiply D73 with E73 plus D74 times E74 and so on ครับ like this it will return the sum of the product of corresponding ranges or array นะครับ in this one all right now let's do it นะครับ I just like specify first array that is price per unit first นะครับ array number 2 is quantity นะครับ I just multiply 2 of them only นะครับ but if your calculation is more complicated than this you can just use more than 2 arrays for multiplication นะครับ in here so this one you can see that the what to say intermediate result is showing 122 นะครับ that is the same as the yellow cell here นะครับ because the way that sum product does is that it just like multiply each row นะครับ together and plus the multiplication of another row and plus the product or multiplication of the last row for us นะครับ like this so that you can get 122 okay. all right okay any questions about this ครับ for this example if you don't have any questions นะครับ I want you to do it by yourself for this second example นะครับ okay just like separate the table to be like this นะครับ okay I'll start with table number 1 first for you so I want you to use sum product to find the total stock ครับ I give you 2 minutes นะครับ everyone please find the total stock in this given table นะครับ so in this one นะครับ you can see that it's very easy นะครับ the difference from the previous one is just separating array 1 and array 2 into different location นะครับ so in this one I just like use the sum product นะครับ array 1 is in this table while array 2 is in another table นะครับ but in this one if you have to multiply like this make sure that the position are the same orange in the first table and orange in the second table must be in the first position same as bananas and grape นะครับ otherwise the multiplication result will be wrong so in this one you get 122 นะครับ this is what we do for finding our multiplication result นะครับ and then sum them up as a sum product okay any questions for the sum product is it easy right okay so before we do anything else save the file first นะครับ now we learn already for the functions นะครับ many functions in here นะครับ from this set of data นะครับ that we have got นะครับ now that come to just like the things that we have to use for the pivot data what is it what is pivot นะครับ when we talk about pivot table นะครับ pivot table นะครับ in the terms pivot it means to turn นะครับ to turn นะครับ turn what in this one we would like to turn นะครับ the table นะครับ into the dimension that is easily digest นะครับ easy to digest นะครับ in this one you can see that when we have this kind of data this is just the basic the transaction that if we have the information นะครับ if we have the information from normally like cash registration machine นะครับ we get this kind of table same as we download from our e-learning but in this one if you say that okay you would like to make a pivot table how can you do that นะครับ in here so นะครับ I'll talk about the pivot table นะครับ and then you can see that how we gonna manage this data firstly นะครับ okay if you filter anything นะครับ you just clear all the filters first นะครับ okay firstly I will have to just like highlight all of the data that I want to make it as a pivot table นะครับ I want to make it as a pivot table นะครับ so when I highlight them already นะครับ the next thing that we have to do is that we go to นะครับ insert menu นะครับ we go to insert menu and then you go to pivot table นะครับ we go to pivot table then click on pivot table ครับ don't forget to highlight the cells that you want to include in the pivot table first นะครับ okay so the pivot table will ask you that okay what are tables or range that you want to make a pivot table here we choose already we highlighted them already so that's why it specify the range for us next นะครับ it asks us that where would you like to place our pivot table on new workbook or this workbook นะครับ in this one we use this workbook for a long time already I'm sorry new worksheet or existing worksheet we have been using this worksheet for a long time then it's full of the function already then I would just like want to create our pivot table in another worksheet instead นะครับ then we choose new worksheet นะครับ and then we click OK so you can see that right now I have a new sheet my sheet is called sheet 2 นะครับ rename this worksheet นะครับ as pivot table นะครับ in here all right okay so let me do it again นะครับ I highlight the data that I want to make pivot table first I go to insert menu and then choose pivot table then I just answer the question we have the range of data already then I choose new worksheet and then click OK then it comes with the new sheet นะครับ you can notice that this is the pivot table in this symbol ครับ we have pivot table in here นะครับ okay now rename the table the sheet as pivot table worksheet นะครับ okay on the right hand side that it comes up with the pivot table fields นะครับ that are the fields that we want to have in our pivot table so in this one if you just accidentally click on some cells that close the pivot table field how can you bring it back นะครับ In order to bring back that pivot table fields นะครับ you have to click on this area นะครับ once you click it will be back นะครับ in this one but if you close นะครับ if you intentionally close this pivot table field นะครับ even though you click on this pivot table นะครับ it doesn't show up the field, right? How can you bring it back? Firstly, click on the pivot table anywhere in this area นะครับ okay, any cells in this area. Now you see a menu called design นะครับ click on design ครับ I'm sorry, not design, I'm sorry. It's in analyze, not design นะครับ analyze. Then you will see นะครับ you see field list นะครับ button. Click on field list ครับ so it just bring back the field list on the right hand side for us นะครับ this is a field list that we just like intentionally close it. You can bring it back by just clicking on pivot table, click on analyze and then choose field list นะครับ okay, now you see the tools that we have to use for pivot table already. Now นะครับ let's see what should be in the pivot table. The pivot table is the table that consists of the data that we have got, like we have got in here นะครับ but it just like show in the summary form instead นะครับ okay, so in the pivot table here, assume that I want to see buyer นะครับ you can see that right now นะครับ once I click on any data นะครับ it will be shown in one out of these 4 boxes. In this one it shows buyer in rows นะครับ in here, but you can change the buyer into column instead like this. You just drag buyer from rows to column นะครับ the name of the buyer will become in the row label, sorry, in the column label instead นะครับ up to you which one that you want to have. Next นะครับ okay, suppose I just like stick it with the row label. I say that I want to specify that, okay, for the goods นะครับ what are the goods that our customer purchase. I just drag goods to column นะครับ so in here you can see that I have book, food, movie, DVD, toys นะครับ and grand total in the column. If you want to switch between rows and column, you can just like manage it in freehand like this. So book, food, movie, DVD, and toys will be switched into the row label instead นะครับ okay, this one you know how to just like change or switch the position already นะครับ okay, so now in this table นะครับ in this pivot table it doesn't have any value yet. We have to bring the value นะครับ to be shown in this table นะครับ okay, so what value I want to display. In this one I want to see the amount paid. So amount paid I want it to be shown as the value. I drag amount paid to values นะครับ. In here the value here is sigma or sum value. It's just like sum if it has like many transactions happen. For example, for Mr. Joe, he purchased book not just in one record นะครับ so if you have a look in here นะครับ Joe purchased book, right? Okay, you see Mr. Joe he purchased book, hang on, oh he purchased just once. Okay, now let's see other the goods if it is toys, let's say. Okay, this one is purchased by many people นะครับ let's see Paula, she purchased toys many times. In this one she purchased toys for 3 times นะครับ now we go back to our pivot table ครับ you can see that for Paula she purchased toy for $3,600. This is the sum value of the purchasing of toys more than one time from Paula. if you have a look in the pivot data table here นะครับ and if you sum these numbers นะครับ for transaction that Paula purchased toy you get 3,600 in here right okay but in the pivot table it find the sum of the number for you automatically you don't need to sum again นะครับ because this one it tell us already ครับ if you say that I want to know as well that okay underneath the what to say underneath I want to switch buyer and goods again นะครับ okay I want to know that underneath each row นะครับ each buyer when did he or she purchase I can just like have the sub level of the rows I can say that okay under rows I want to have date you can see that in here Paula นะครับ and toys Paula purchased toys นะครับ on this amount นะครับ on January hang on Paula purchased on the 20th of January 1,100 on April she purchased on the 9th and 17th of February for toys that's why นะครับ altogether it comes to the toy for Paula นะครับ for 3,600 นะครับ when you just like add these two things together so this is the pivot table is just like a summary table that tell us for like the details that you want to have นะครับ in this one okay suppose I just like remove date out if you don't want any field just drag it back to the original place นะครับ like this now we get this kind of thing okay we still have like Paula นะครับ that get that purchase 3,600 for toys นะครับ in our company so you can just like change or switch any row or add quantity that you want to know นะครับ instead of values นะครับ anytime you want you can just like drag to get the answer for example in here in here if you have just like sum of the amount and sum of quantity it shows two things sum of the amount sum of the quantity for you straight away in here if you don't want amount you want quantity this one will tell us for the quantity instead so the pivot table help us to just like summarize all the data that we want accordingly and then easily rather than just like manually calculate this kind of values by yourself okay so when we have this one already everyone just save your file first because on the next step some of the machine may be crashed the Excel may be crashed so that's why you should save this file first okay now we finished talking about the pivot table already up to this point do you have any questions for the pivot table if you don't have any question for this pivot table let me continue with the pivot chart pivot chart is the extension part from pivot table we will use the information from this pivot table to create the visualization for this one in this class we'll use the pivot table to create a couple of things the first one is the we will create pivot chart from the pivot table second one we will use pivot table to create slicer and spark lines these are like the visualization tools that we can work with the pivot table okay now let's talk about pivot chart first pivot chart is the chart that is created from the pivot table that we have got similar to the chart that we created from the regular data in the table now when we create pivot table we can have a pivot chart that this chart will be just like adjusted when you just like change the value, or I mean the rows and columns for this pivot table. Okay, so how can we create a pivot chart? To create pivot chart, firstly, click on any cells in the pivot table first. After that, we just click on insert. After you click on insert, you can see that we have the charts. We have the chart. Hang on, let me just check for you. Okay. Please go to analyze. Go to analyze menu. Now, the Office 2019 version, they moved the chart in another menu already. In here, you should see in analyze, you see a chart that is called pivot chart. Click on pivot chart. If you can't find the pivot chart in analyze menu, you just go to insert, and it is in pivot chart here as well. So there are two places where you can find the pivot chart. When you get the pivot chart already, click on the pivot chart. Pivot chart will recommend you what kind of pivot chart that you can have, Then you just choose the chart that you want to have. For example, in here, if you want to have the column chart, you just click OK. This is the pivot chart that we can have. Save this file again, because this step, it may cause your Excel to be crashed for some computer. The difference between pivot chart and regular chart, there are 2 points in difference. The first one, for the regular chart, it's created it's created from the data that you have in the regular worksheet, while the pivot chart is created from the pivot table that you have got that can be linked with other tools later. Next, in pivot chart, you can see that we have the drop-down list that we can just like choose and adjust. For example, in here, if we want to see the goods that are just food only, the pivot chart can be adjusted when you just like choose this one. When the pivot chart is updated, when the pivot chart is updated, pivot table is updated accordingly. You can see that the data in pivot table and pivot chart are displaying the same value. This one, it shows name of the customer, same as here. It shows the food in here. This is food, and each bar represents the data that we have got in this one. Okay, this is the pivot chart that we have got. Apart from this one, if you want to change the pivot chart type, you can just choose another type of the chart as well if you want to. We can go to what to say, choose the chart style as you want, or you can just like go to insert menu. Right now we are in the pivot chart, and then you can just like choose the pivot chart as you like. Okay, choose another, create another pivot chart, something like that. If you think that you don't like this chart and you want to remove this chart out, you may click and then right click, choose cut to remove this chart away. It's the same thing as just like when you don't want a chart, you can just like do like this. Okay, so in this one, you can see that you have like 2 different kind of charts that are displaying on the same worksheet in here. So in this one, you can see that these 2 charts are absolutely the same. It's displaying the same value. Here is showing Mr. Smith, right? But if you want to have more than this to show everyone, you can see that when you update in this one, it shows just like the food of different people, but they show in 2 different kind of charts. In order to create what we say when we just like see like different aspect in different charts on the same screen like this, we call it as นะครับ we call it as the dashboard on Excel นะครับ It is used to help us to see นะครับ different aspect of the data that we have got นะครับ We will talk about it next on นะครับ After we have this one already, what else นะครับ What are other tools that we can use in conjunction with the pivot table and pivot charts นะครับ Save your file first นะครับ In the pivot table, pivot charts นะครับ slicer and sparkline, try to save it as much as you can, because it is possible that it may just like cause your Excel to be crashed. If you have a look right now, my Excel is start saving and it takes some time already นะครับ if I don't save right now and I just like do something more it may be possible that my Excel is just like restarting นะครับ now it's okay. Now let me talk about the next tools นะครับ in the pivot table and pivot chart that we can have. The next tool is another visualization that we call it as นะครับ slicer นะครับ that is what we call as slicer. In this one นะครับ we click on the table นะครับ in any cell of the pivot table first นะครับ and then we go to นะครับ we go to insert. You will see นะครับ the menu that is called filters นะครับ filters group. Here you see slicer นะครับ we begin with the slicer first ครับ okay. We click slicer นะครับ in here you can choose slicer นะครับ in order to slice the data according to what you choose, according to the columns that you have in here นะครับ you have the slicer similar to the column that you have in here. If you want to slice the data by date, buyer, sellers, goods, and monthly payment method นะครับ if I say that these are my slicer นะครับ what will happen when I choose them already นะครับ I click OK. These are slicer that I have got. It tells us that what are possible values นะครับ that I have. So นะครับ before we do anything นะครับ don't click anything now, just save the file again นะครับ okay, this one นะครับ if I want to see นะครับ what Mr. Smith purchased from us นะครับ in here you can see that, okay, let's see Mr. Smith นะครับ once again นะครับ cash is blue, credit card is pale blue. Pale blue means that it doesn't have นะครับ for this value. So that means Mr. Smith purchased by cash only. He never purchased by credit card, because if you click credit card, there's nothing happen. See that? Okay. Now for the goods, we have food, movie, DVD, toys, and book. While book is faded, if you click on book for Mr. Smith, you don't see any bar in here นะครับ if you click food, you can see it in here. So suppose I want to just like see the buyer นะครับ that are just Mr. Joe นะครับ that is Mr. Joe, Mr. Smith, only two people นะครับ so it will show the bar between two people. After that, I want to see by payment, that is cash, and I want to see นะครับ book and food. This one, they are comparing book and food for us. And if I want to know that, okay, which transaction I want to show, or I want to see the transaction that is sold by Andrew and Susan นะครับ I can just choose Andrew and Susan in here ครับ also นะครับ in this one you can see that I can control นะครับ the pivot charts and pivot table by the slicers that we have got นะครับ okay. In this one I'm using 5 slicers altogether, but I found that the slicer that is dead is not useful for us, because dead is too detailed. If I don't want, I can just like right click and then choose remove date นะครับ this slicer will be just like removed from our pivot chart นะครับ okay all right so this is what we call visualization in our pivot table and pivot chart you can create slicers นะครับ in order to click and choose somebody said that why don't we just like click and choose from the chart directly because sometimes you have to know that if you use Excel นะครับ if you use Excel in our tablet on our iPad let's say tapping on the slicer is easier than just like click on the drop down list นะครับ because it's bigger นะครับ in this one when you have this one already นะครับ apart from the slicer here นะครับ that you may have นะครับ on the what to say pivot chart already นะครับ in here the next one นะครับ that we have to learn นะครับ let me just have a look at it okay. is that I'm going to talk about นะครับ the visualization tools นะครับ I'm going to talk about visualization tools apart from this one นะครับ apart from just like pivot table pivot chart and the slicers นะครับ next thing that we have to learn นะครับ is what we call the what to say it's the visualization tools นะครับ for the visualization tool or data visualization tools they are the tools that we use in order to just what to say in order to show the data นะครับ instead of having the numbers we show the data in terms of graphics instead นะครับ we show the number we show the value in terms of graphic instead for example in here นะครับ if I say that I want to show นะครับ all the data in here you can see that if we see the bar it's easier to compare for example if I want to see that which product that Mr. Smith purchased the most you can see that it's the yellow one and you see that oh yellow one is toys something like that and if you say that which one is the second one where Mr. Smith purchased is the gray bar in here it means movie DVD okay so this one you can see that it will be very easy for you when you just have a glance you know immediately that which value is the maximum which value is the next one by using the color and the charts in order to help นะครับ the pictures in order to help just like displaying this kind of thing okay so that's why we have to learn about data visualization tools before I move on to data visualization tools up to this point do you have any questions about pivot table pivot chart and the slicers so when you have time นะครับ you can just like try creating your pivot table pivot chart and slicers by yourself นะครับ if you don't understand any part just like just ask me นะครับ or you can just like go to watch the video of our lecture later on as well I try to upload the lectures that we have got นะครับfor this morning class นะครับ now it's just like I am just like rendering the picture I think that tonight it will be finished and for this one นะครับ the after evening class should be finished by tomorrow นะครับ because I will just like make it overnight tomorrow it should be okay นะครับ okay now let's see if you don't have the question about this นะครับ this pivot table and pivot chart already now I will create a new worksheet นะครับ this worksheet is called as นะครับ data visualization data visualization for the data visualization here นะครับ in this class we will learn a couple of data visualization tools นะครับ in Excel นะครับ and after that after midterm we will learn more นะครับ data visualization tool in Power BI นะครับ okay in the data visualization นะครับ in this class we use two different kind of data visualization The first one is called the icon sets. The other one is called data bars. Icon sets are the visualization tool that you use different icons to display the values. For example, you may use traffic light to show that, okay, which one is the maximum one, which one is the maximum revenue, which one is the cheapest one, something like that. Or we may use like the signal strength, signal strength like the bar in your mobile phone, that you see the signal strength bar like this, this one. Or sometimes somebody use the flag for being the showing some numbers, something like that. Sometimes you use star to represent 5 star, 6 star, 3 stars, 1 star only, something like that. These are what we call icon. While data bar is a bit different. Data bar just use the space inside the box, inside the cell to represent the data. If it's full, this one it show the full bar for the full cell, something like that. While some cell it just like show very tiny bar in here. This one, you can see that the number A here, the bar is full more than number B, something like that. Okay, we talk about like the what to say, capacity, not capacity, the volume or numbers that we have depends on the width of the bar that we have got. We will talk about in detail when we reach the part of the what to say, data bars in here. All right, so now let's talk about the first kind of data visualization, that is icon set. For the icon set, assume we have the data like this. Assume that we have the data showing in these numbers. In this one, if we just have the data like this, we don't want to sort anything, but we want to see them in different kind of pictures to show how big it is or how small it is for these numbers. In this one, I'm going to use the icon set. Firstly, if you want to use icon set, you have to know that how many groups would you like to have? Would you like to separate? For example, if we would like to separate this number into 3 groups, you have to use 3 different icons. 3 icons, the set with the 3 icons. If 4 groups, you use a group of 4 icons, so that they can just like separate the numbers and then display the value to you. So where can we find it? Firstly, everyone just like copy these numbers and then highlight them first so that we can just like start using the icon set together. In order to use icon set, you highlight the value first. Go to Home tab. After that, you go to Conditional Formatting. Then you will see icon sets it here. When you choose, and you have a look on icon sets, these are like different icon sets that we can have. It may come in terms of arrows or directional shapes like triangle, circle, square, or indicators like flags or tick or cross, exclamation mark, or rating like star, the signal, the mobile phone signal, something like that. Okay, so actually doesn't matter what kind of icon sets you are using. but you have to think first, how many icons or how many groups would you like to separate? In this one, assume that I want to separate them into 3 groups. Then I have to use either this one, this one, this one, or 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 this one. These are like, hang on, it doesn't show on the screen, right? Okay. In here, any groups with 3 different symbols, those kind of thing, you can choose them. Suppose I'm using the traffic light. I have the traffic light like this. This is 3 traffic light. That means I will separate them into 3 groups. I click over there. When I click over there already, right now, you can see that our data has been separated into 3 groups. In this one, the groups will be separated automatically, but you have to check sometimes the group that the icon set just like separate for the numbers that you have got might not be what you want. You have to check whether it's like it is what you need or not. How does these numbers been calculated? How does these numbers been calculated? Firstly, I let you just like find the maximum and minimum number of this value first, so that we can just like use the number line to help. So the minimum for these numbers, I use min. If you still remember, we learned min function at the very beginning of this term. Okay, this is the min. Minimum for this set is 2. What about max? Max is 95. So let me just like show this one to you. How can we get like this traffic light differently? Okay, so for the numbers in here, the minimum is 2, maximum is 95. Okay, so in here, when you need to have 3 icons, that means it has 3 groups, right? Okay, so when you have 3 groups, Excel in the icon set will do like this. It separates the number line into 3 sets. Okay, into 3 groups like this. For the first group, it's from 0% to 33%. Second group is from 33% to 66%. And the last group is from 66 to 100%. Of what? Of max minus min. So that means the value from, that is 93, right? 0 to 93 times 33%. Okay, let me calculate. This is 30.69. And for the next one is 66% times 93 equals to 61.38. And the maximum one is 95. So that means any number from 2 to 30.69 will be shown in red. Any value from 30.69 to 61.38 will be shown in yellow. And the last one will be shown in green. They separate this range into 3 groups equally. If you say that, actually, no, I want the numbers that is over than 85 to be shown as green. Any value from 30.69 to 85 to be less than 85, I want to show them as yellow. And for the beginning 0 to 33%, it's shown as red. Now you have to customize your icon set. How can you set up the icon set properly? in order to just like set up the icon set นะครับ you have to click on the icon set that you have chosen that you have been using first. After that นะครับ we go to conditional formatting again. Choose manage rules. And after that นะครับ we just go to the icon set นะครับ that we are using. Click on this icon set ครับ After that you choose edit rule นะครับ you choose edit rule. Then you just specify right now the value is signified by the percentage. If you want to change them, you can change the type to be number นะครับ then change both of them to be number. So when you read like this ครับ the green icon นะครับ it will be green icon when value is greater than or equal to 0 นะครับ that is the number. So in this one, if I say that the value is greater than or equal to 85, I want to show them in the green color. Next, it will be shown as yellow when it is less than 0 and greater than or equals to, if I say that 35, yeah, something like this. So when it's less than 85 and greater than or equals to 35 นะครับ and the value, hang on, the value that is here, let me change, okay, and the value that is in red นะครับ I just press tab. It's when it's less than 35 will be shown in red. This one is to manually set up the icon sets by yourself นะครับ if you don't want to have the automatic one in here นะครับ you may say that, oh, I want 20 and above to be in yellow and less than 20 I want to show them in the red one นะครับ if you think that the numbers that you choose is okay already, you click OK and then apply นะครับ all the numbers will be just like set according to your new rule. If you are not if you are still not satisfying with it, you can click on the icon set and choose edit rule again นะครับ there are two things that you have to know. The first one is that reverse icon order. Now maximum is shown in green, the lower value is shown in red. But if you say that no, I want to reverse it, you can click reverse icon นะครับ in here. You can see that now if the value is greater than or equal to 85, it shows as red color instead. For example, if we're talking about like the expense, the more expense you have, the more serious you have to use. That's why I just use the red color instead. Then I click OK and then apply. You can see that very high value will be shown in red, right? The cheap one will be shown in green instead นะครับ so this is the first thing that you have to know. Apart from that one นะครับ you may just like want to show as an as the icon set only. Sometimes you want to hide the numbers, you can do it as well. For example, if you have like the cost of each category and you have the numbers like this, you want to say that which cost นะครับ is high นะครับ which category, which item of the cost is high. For example, if you say that the petrol is high นะครับ then you don't want to say number, you just say that it's in the red group, something like that. Then you just show the icon only นะครับ it will not show the numbers for each icon. When you click OK already, you click apply, you can see that each row นะครับ each row will be shown นะครับ without the numbers นะครับ will be shown without the number. Okay, in here, yeah, so it is without the number already นะครับ something like this, depends on what you want นะครับ in here. All right, so this is the icon sets that we have to know นะครับ